Well, this is definitely a video that I don't really even want to share, and I didn't even really want to make, but these are the kind of situations when you're trying to homestead that are really helpful for other people who are new to homesteading or new to farm animals or just breeding animals in general. Sometimes there's situations that arise that maybe are kind of uncommon, and so I'm going to share with you something that we recently experienced, and I'm going to give you a warning that it is very graphic. It is not going to be one that you probably want to have kids around for. And I'll give you the warning now, it's not an easy one to watch. I have about 5 minutes of footage here of a situation with our ewe that we recently had. We had put her with our ram a few months ago, and so we knew that we were in a potential situation to breed her. And that's kind of what we were hoping for. We were hoping to try that route. She was indeed pregnant, and at some point she miscarried, and we knew that something was off because she stopped growing. We just weren't sure when and how the rest of that process would happen, and so we were kind of just watching her every day and waiting. And the few minutes of footage that I'm going to show you is the day that her body decided it was time to give birth to these little teeny tiny little lambs. So it is graphic. It is not something that that we take lightly. It is a very sad situation, but like I said, I think it can help somebody if they're experiencing or thinking about getting sheep or breeding sheep, because this kind of stuff can happen. So I'm going to show you the footage, and then I will just briefly talk about it right afterwards. And I have an inkling, doing some research afterwards, as to why this happened the way it did. So hopefully you can learn from our situation. So again, it's very graphic. Here's your last warning. I'm going to show you the footage right now. I'm really struggling here. I don't really know what to do with her. She's really tight. I have gloves on, and I was just trying to see if I could maybe get my hand in there a little bit, see if I can assist in something, but she's still so tight, and now she's just relaxing. And she doesn't have any contractions that I'm seeing, but when I go in there a little bit, she starts to push, so it like stimulates something. I don't know, this doesn't look good. Watch out, watch out. Oh, those poor little babies. Yeah. That's unfortunate.
No.
Way too tiny and underdeveloped. Oh, those poor little things. They tried. Oh, that's so sad. Poor little things. I wonder what caused them to not develop anymore. I wonder what caused them to stop developing, you know? And then we have her. This is must have been the placenta here. So we have two that are underdeveloped, like way underdeveloped. I mean, the size of my hand. There's not much structure to them. Poor little things. Oh, that makes me so sad. So I'm gonna check and see if I feel anything else in her, to make sure like it's possible, because these sheep do typically birth multiples, that she could have one in there that has formed and maybe took all the nutrients or whatnot. I'm just gonna go feel around and just check her. My guess is no, but yeah. Okay, so she won't let me get even close, but I did find a third one. I'll show you in just a moment. But I mean, she's super skittish of me right now, but she looks actually pretty good. Her backside definitely has some, like, it's okay, Gail. She's definitely just got a messy behind, but I don't see anything else hanging out. Her bags are definitely not full at all, and so yeah, when it comes to there being more in there, at this point I don't think so. I'm going to show you the third one that I found, which is even smaller than the other two. So I put them up here because they have hay on them now. So here's the original two babies that I showed you at first with the placenta that had come out. And this is another one, which is, again, even more underdeveloped. And like, I know this is really graphic and really sad. Unfortunately, this is the reality of trying to homestead and trying to farm. I have no idea what caused the babies to stop forming, and it's really super sad, and I'm really bummed about it. But I do know that there's always another opportunity if we want to try it again. I'm not sure if we want to try it again. We just don't know what we want to do with sheep. We just don't know if sheep are our thing. I don't know. And this kind of stuff is just so heartbreaking. It can be really, really disheartening, you know, and discouraging. But we'll see. Anyways, I'm just gonna keep an eye on her the rest of the day. She's actually looking really good to me. And considering there's 3 in there, I don't think there is any more. She passed all those seemingly pretty effortlessly. They're pretty small. So we'll see. We'll see. Yeah, and now she's just totally fine. Now she's hungry. Now she's hungry. Okay, so after this happened, I did some research, and I had already done some research about ewe pregnancies and estrus and sheep birth and all that prior to mating them. But doing some research afterwards sometimes gives you a better indication on maybe what happened. And so that's what I did. So I did some research because the woman that we bought our sheep from, when her and I were chatting briefly via text during this situation, and right afterwards, she kind of said that's actually not very common for a ewe to miscarry. And so you might want to do some research on that. Well, we don't live in an area that has vets for sheep. Our vets here are not, they're just kind of basic domesticated animals. Maybe do some like cows and very large cattle type work, but there's just not sheep people out here. And so doing my own research, I came to the conclusion that in observing our other sheep, that it's not a parasite issue, it's not a disease issue. Our sheep show 0 signs of any of that. We check them frequently, watch them frequently for certain characteristics, whether it's you know, skin lesions or coughing or any kind of like worms or things in their poo. But they don't show any signs of any of that. And so the next step was to go to like looking at their diet. And here's something that I knew ahead of time to an extent, but after the fact realizing that changing a ewe's diet while they are in any stage of a pregnancy can cause her body to miscarry lambs. Now our sheep, we put them together, it should have been like, I think it was like February. So in putting them together kind of at the late part of winter, it was when they are, because in the winter they're fully on hay, they're not on rotational grazing at that point here in Minnesota. And we had a really strange winter, really strange spring. And so it took a while, longer than normal, for us to get them out on to grass, which was kind of strange. But even so, going from hay to just open pasture is a diet change. And that what that also does is causes a fluctuation or a change in their like minerals that they need for their bodies. So with all that being said, that is something that happened in the midst of her pregnancy. And we did have some alfalfa in there for her. We did have some nutrient-rich stuff in there for her. But ultimately, the change of diet in the midst of the pregnancy, we think is what could have caused this. Now, the other two reasons that could have happened, it could be genetics. There could be something in her genetic line that caused it. It's doubtful. We bought her from a breeder. She has really good genes, and I hadn't heard anything about this in her line. So it's probably not genetics, but that could be a factor. If for somebody who's watching this, if something like this happens to you, that's another thing you could look into. The last option could have been any sort of like blunt force trauma from our ram, or a wether ramming her. If they did at some point during her pregnancy that we weren't around for. So it could have been something like that too, but more than likely, we think, unfortunately, that it was caused by the diet change that happened within her pregnancy. So, yeah. So it's a very sad situation. We're really, it's really unfortunate. We're really bummed about it. We don't know if we're going to try to breed again. We just don't even know if that might just not be something that we want to do at any near future. Yeah, so sorry today is a bummer video, but it can definitely, like I said, it can definitely help somebody. And in observing her over the last week, she has healed up fine. She looks fine. There doesn't seem to be any issues or complications, and she's just back to grazing like normally. So, yeah, so there's that. Usually my videos are much happier, so if you like food or chickens or other things, stick around.